Check, check. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, have credit. I'm really excited to be back at JMU. It's been a while since I've been back on campus, and I'm super pumped to be here and to watch how many of you did that, alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I was thinking coming in for an early Saturday morning session that some of your stomachs would have been in such a position that you would not be interested in necessarily that amount of up and down in a brief time prior to 10 o'clock this morning. But I appreciate you going along with it. I'm excited to be here, excited to talk to you all today about leadership and hopefully give you a chance as a result of experiencing what they put together for you on the agenda today, a situation to grow as a leader. So real quick, so I get a sense of who's in the room. We have freshmen here today. Freshmen? Good for you. You still have that new student glow to you, which we're excited to see along the way. By the time you get to the senior year, you won't necessarily have that anymore. Sophomores? We got sophomores in there? A lot of sophomores. Juniors? Good. And seniors? They're just riding it out at this point, right? Just here to make sure the freshmen stay behaved. All right. What I'm excited to do in the next 3 hours with you all today is talk some about your personal leadership philosophy, how you approach it, how it can hopefully make a difference, and tell you some of the things that I experienced both here as a Duke and as I moved on in my professional career that I think can help. And as we talk about it, I'll share with you this long list of credentials which you don't care about and I don't want to talk about much, except that I am a two-time graduate at JMU. I got multiple degrees here. I hung out on campus a lot. I was the president of the ambassadors in 2002 and found out that, oh, you're here? Are you an ambassador? Good. I heard that the ambassadors were not going to be represented today because they were in overnight training and they're not in... Yeah, well, it's cool. But yet you're alive, alert, awake, and enthusiastic. Now, I did all this back in my time, but I will tell you that recently my life has changed and I have the most intense leadership challenge I've ever experienced. And that's because I had this. And 4 years later, because I lost any term of reality in my own head, I added this. Now, when you have 4.5-year-old twin sons who are crazy, and you decide to bring a little sister into the world for them, it turns your life completely upside down. So everything I thought that I knew about leadership got put out. But here we are all together, hanging out in the woods. What I will tell you is whoever is most actively involved in partnership over the next little bit here will have the opportunity to take any of those children home with them on your next adventure. And I would actually appreciate it if you do that. Okay, we want to talk about a couple ground rules. First, you need to recognize that there's power in the choices you make. A lot of times, we're going to ask you over the course of today, over the course of your time at JMU, to do or experience something that you may not get right away. But remember, it's about it. Many of you have already made a good choice this morning. You chose to come. You chose to come and be a part of this. This is optional to be here. It's your choice, except for some people. How many people is it not optional to be here? Okay. And how many people made the choice to come? All right, cool. I'm just trying to get a sense of who's where, because the people who it's not optional will likely spend most of the hour like this. They're like, say something funny, do something entertaining, catch on fire, just something to keep the attention going. But the rest will do it. And to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page, I want to play a game with you. And I normally talk about how nerdy I am at this point, and how when I was a little boy I used to watch Pee-wee's Playhouse. But I think we have moved past the generation that knows that. Anybody know Pee-wee? I'm talking pre-sketchy Pee-wee though. You know, those of you who know current Pee-wee, there are probably different reasons you know him, different circumstances that are around that. But before, when Pee-wee had his Playhouse show, they would go on this long ride at the start of the show on his bike. And he would ride through the middle of the air, which is great, because if you have a bunch of young kids watching the show, the best thing you should do is show them that you can ride your bike in midair. It makes sense. Then we all go out and try. But the saving grace of the show was every time, once they finally got to the clubhouse, they put into place the word of the day. You remember that? And anytime somebody in the show would say the word of the day, what would the folks do? Thank you. Josh, the only one who knows. Apparently you need gray hair to remember what happened in Pee-wee Playhouse. I got it too. We're okay. Anyway, they would scream, they would shout, they would stomp their feet, they would go all throughout it. What's your name, man? Vanessa. In just about 15 seconds, I'm going to ask Vanessa to pick a word of the day. She can pick any word she wants. And what I'm doing right now is simply buying Vanessa time to think of a word. Because in her head, she's panicking. She wants to pick the right word. She's nervous that I'm going to ask her a word, and she's not going to pick the word that was the right word, not realizing that she can actually pick any word she wants, and it's going to be okay. But there is still a chance when I say, Vanessa, what's the word? She's going to say this. Which will be funny, but hopefully now she understands since we've been talking about her and she's going to have a word ready. So, Vanessa, what is the word of the day?
I'm going to say phenomenal.
Thank you for that. Alright, so the word of the day is going to be phenomenal. So what we're going to test today is anytime I say the word phenomenal, I just want you to react with as much energy, enthusiasm, clap your hands, stomp your feet, go crazy as if we were back on the set of that. We're going to have an example of it right now, and I'll just tell you that you are all phenomenal. Okay, we'll see. I think you can do better, but we're going to get an experience as we go through the process of necessarily what it was. I will tell you a quick story about the word of the day. The word of the day is a really great tool, but you can tell that when I come in and talk to groups, I like to kind of be engaged with the group, be as close as possible. So there was a time I was speaking up at Northern Virginia Community College, and we were speaking to a group of 1,100 students. So because we were doing that, I had to be on stage, and I don't like talking on stage because you can't get as close with the people. So when I'm on stage, I hang with my feet like halfway off the stage. So today, I'll remember the word phenomenal, and every time that I say it... Alright, if we're going to have any success today, I'm going to need you to stay with me so we can move through this process, okay? So as long as we sit there and we remember, and I said, the word of the day that day was tomorrow. So I'm hanging with my feet off the stage, and we're going through the process. And right at the end, it'd been like 75 minutes, and the thesis statement, the last thing we're going to say is, it's not about what you do a month from now, it's not about what you do a week from now, it's not about what you do tomorrow, it's about what you do today. That's how it's supposed to go. So circumstantially, we start that, and this is what happens. So like sweat's pouring down, we're right there, and I'm like way into it, hanging out there, and I'm like, it's not about what you do a month from now, it's not about what you do a week from now, it's not about what you do tomorrow, it's about, and because they were super into it, they screamed, which is great. They were right on pace with what we wanted them to do. The problem with that particular moment is I had forgotten the word of the day myself. Now, when 1,100 people scream at you, it's okay if you set it up. Like, I'll pick places where I'll say fantastic today to see, and then I'll be ready. But they scared me, okay? And because I was hanging with my feet halfway off the stage, I fell off the front of the stage. I don't know why that's funny. Well, we'll wait for this then. It was a big 1,100 person stage with an orchestra pit. Oh, it's less funny now, isn't it? Yeah. So I went from on stage to gone. And they couldn't find a way to get me out. So I'm hanging out like on the bottom of the stage, and I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my comments for today. Because I couldn't get back out. It took them 20 minutes to find a ladder. All that to say, today I will remember phenomenal. We will walk through it, and hopefully by the time we finish our conversation this morning, you'll be set up to do some things that actually have meaning as we move forward. I want to tell you why I love working with student leaders, because you can take a student leader and tell them a simple, scientifically proven fact, like it's impossible to lick your elbow. And they'll sit there and they'll go, okay. But what I'm willing to bet about a room of student leaders is that many of you are right now contemplating licking your own elbow. Because what you're trained to do is say, what people tell me is not always true, and I'm better than you in science, and I will find a way to do what you say is impossible to do. So, if you want, try to lick your elbow. Go ahead. No one's judging, no one's watching. We will tell you without unique ways of being double jointed and things like that, it's likely not to happen, but I think from an evolutionary standpoint, more of us can do it. But challenging the system and saying nothing is impossible is really an important baseline of how we set things up. I want to start with a question. You have your program, they gave you some pens. On the back of your program, all I want you to do is write down the name of the greatest leader you know. All right. Anybody willing to share who you wrote down? I know, it's tough. There's like 200 some people here. I wouldn't. Sir?
Will Smith.
Will Smith. Excellent. Why Will?
He's funny.
Because he's funny. Funny is a good trait for a leader. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. You're Mimi. Why? Able to quietly lead. Two more. Yes, ma'am.
I wrote down my high school basketball coach.
High school basketball coach. Why?
She's a great person.
Good. Last one. Yes, ma'am. Your mom. Why? Good. With kindness. Leading with kindness, where it comes from. When we talk about the greatest leader we know, a lot of times we have people who are really influential to us. A pastor, a parent, a grandparent. Or many people then default to historical leaders. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Bill Clinton, if you're so inclined. When we think about what draws up, my question to you is as follows. Did anyone write down your own name? Why can't we write our own name down is the answer to that question. It's conceited, right? We don't want to do it, but at the end of the day, isn't that really what our best opportunity is to be an effective leader? Because when we talk to our mom or our Meemaw, Mimi, or the pastor or the coach, or when he hangs out with Will Smith, we have chances to learn and model and talk and adapt from these people. And then if you're like me and you struggle to say, how of all these people that I know am I going to lead, you get to handpick and say, I want to take this person's kindness and this person's love and this person's drive, and then become that greatest leader yourself. We talk about something called the post-secret phenomenon. Anyone in the room familiar with post-secret? Anybody whose hand is up is addicted to post-secret like I am? Post-secret is amazing. If you haven't checked it out, it's www.postsecret.com. You can check it out now if you want, especially if you're bored with what I'm saying. But while you're on your smartphone, if you choose to take an Instagram, or tweet with me, or Facebook, or find me, or in any way connect, just don't be bored. It's not worth being bored the next little bit that you're here. But what Post-Secret does is invites people to say anonymously, send in a secret to this house in Maryland. And what the curator of the website does is post them. Every Sunday he goes out and posts about 24 of these secrets that come in. And you find people who say, I feel like a fraud in my own life. Or I feel like I'm experiencing this that doesn't belong. Or they sit there and say, this is what that deep secret is that I have to get out. And in a decade of talking to emerging student leaders, I found out that we all share a common secret that we struggle to talk about. And that's that we don't believe in ourselves the way that we need to be effective as we move forward. And we learn that if we can simply say, I own myself in my own skin, I have a vision, I have a mission, all of a sudden these other things start to fall in place. And what I'd like to do over the next little bit is tell you how there are 3 keys to being able to put yourself in a position where you won't let lack of confidence in yourself get in the way of what you're doing. Those are to know yourself, to care about others, and to desire some sort of legacy. And as we talk about them, I want you to think about how they manifest with yourself as a leader here at JMU and in your personal life as you move forward. The first is talking about knowing yourself. There's a great quote up there. I imagine you can't read it. I would read it to you, but I can't read it from here. So let's just imagine that it says, you are awesome, you're powerful, but you have to know who you are to be able to make a real difference. How do we do that? First, it's all about attitude. If you want to get a sense of your attitude, I want to share with you the following example. I want you to imagine that you're driving down Interstate 81. And you're trying to get home, trying to get to wherever you are. You're in a little bit of a hurry and you want to get there. And your vehicle gets cut off. Not like a little bit cut off, but cut off like you wonder if the front bumper is still attached to your vehicle type of cut off. And you're sitting there and you're going, okay, so be it. In that moment, your vehicle just get cut off. You have one of 3 options. So when I explain what you do, just raise your hand if this is you. You have your first group of people who blow the horn, tailgate the person for a little bit, find their opportunity to start yelling, where'd you learn to drive like that? What's the matter with you? What are you, from Northern Virginia? And you sit there and you yell until your blood pressure goes through the roof. How many are those people? Good. We call these aggressive people. Folks, note if they're in your room and if we could let them leave first when we finish, that would really be in our best interest. Now you have your second group of people, but your second group of people do a hand gesture, but they do it under the dash and like wave. Where are those people? A couple of those people as they come in here. We call them the assertive people. They're standing for themselves. They kind of just do it in their own way. And then we got the third group, my favorite. The third group sits there, takes that deep breath, Gets themselves to that cheese state and lets it go. Hold your hand proud if you can just let it go and move on with your day. Folks, look at those with their hands up. We call this group the liars. It is not true that you just let go. It bothers you in some level. The more you can own that, the more you can be okay with that, the better you'll be able to move through that process. I know you got some cheese state, but when your front of your vehicle is missing, you're no longer feeling phenomenal. And this particular picture I just thought is funny, because as we sit here in Virginia and we think about Georgia and Florida and their 2 inches, what we know is that people down south can't handle 2 inches. All right, as we move... Oh, that was... That was not how that was intended at all. What was it? Dave, do you remember the moment you weren't welcome back? Yeah, if you scroll the transcript back to the snow. Okay, I'm about to show you an expression on the screen. All I want you to do is read it to yourself. What we know fundamentally when it comes to life philosophy and how we look at the world around us, there are 2 types of people. What does it say? Opportunity is nowhere. Wonderful. How many people seen it say opportunity is nowhere? Good. Opportunity is non-existent. We are the cynical people. We tend to say opportunity doesn't exist. Now, all these peers sitting around us are going, you bum. That says opportunity is now here. Same letter, same perspective, but a totally different lease on life. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And we say we know that contextually it changes. And there are so many things in your organization, in your fraternity, in your sorority, in your academics that you're saying this is an opportunity is nowhere moment, when in essence it means it's an opportunity is now here moment. How you put it together, how you tackle it, how you go through that process. What does this mean? Research has come into the science of learning, leading, and being happy. And what we know about that research is that there are 2 theories that arise. One is called the 80% phenomenon. That says 80%. Yeah, good. Who said that? It was a half cheer. There was no but, you know, we could take it for granted. So the 80% phenomenon says this. Thank you. What group are you representing today? SGA. Okay. I'm familiar with what it stands for. Thank you. He said that means Student Government Association. Thank you. I forgot about my 8 years here that I learned in that process. Wait, how long was I here? I don't know. Okay, 80% phenomenon says this. A lot of it... We are not going to be able to get through this slide if you keep doing that. The top part of the slide references the fact that as we have negative energy in our life, it comes from a significant other, a relationship, a teacher, something in our life that doesn't exist. But 80% of the negativity we experience comes from the same exact source. So if you have a bad relationship with your mother is likely to consume 80% of the things that are dragging you down. I don't know any of your mothers, but if your mother is the one who's doing that, think about what this means in terms of the cost of maintaining that relationship. As you try to lead and project positive energy, positive influence with those around you, that negative experience is zapping out up to 80% of your energy as you go through the process. Why does this matter? See the lower half of the slide, the 1 year theory. What the 1 year theory says that if you think back to a year ago today, that negative influence from the top half of the slide is likely exactly the same. So if it was an abusive relationship or a disappointing mentor or something like that, for the past year that person has continually sucked the positive energy out of you and you've been left to pay the consequence of not being able to be motivated by this or overcome or change your circumstances. Because we're not strong enough to say, I have a vision for myself and frankly, you're not part of it. Tough to say that to your mom, I get, but it may not be your mom. For most of us, it's not our mom, but how do we engage with these people? How do we have the conversation that says, my expectations for my performance are here. My expectations for my energy and enthusiasm are here. You are sucking me down. Maybe don't say it so directly, but just phase them out. Go through the process, because what happens is we get here and we have one bad experience, one bad moment, one bad encounter, and we change everything that's associated with ourselves, and suddenly it brings us all the way down. This concept that your bad moments don't have to become bad days is all about saying, do you have a SRP, a self-recovery plan, which says when someone blindsides me with something negative, here's how I pull myself back out. Do I keep a Milky Way in my back pocket at all times, so that when I find out something negative, I suck down the Milky Way and I'm smiling again? Maybe. Maybe you're anti-Milky Way. But what is it for you? Do you keep a text from an old friend that you want to go back and check that pulls you back? But what for yourself is that opportunity to say, when I hit that low, here's how I recover and rebuild. Because what happens is it's very easy when you get caught off guard with something negative to become negative and let it color everything for the rest of that experience. When you have the plan to snap yourself back out of it, that's where the good follows and comes from. Your values must guide you. Values is the cornerstone of what I've done research on in the past decade. It's something I love. It's something I wish we'd have more time to talk about today. But what we know is when we look at ourselves as a person, there are things we value above everything else. Whether it be your faith and your relationship, whether it be love, whether it be money, whether it be respect or accomplishment, there are things you say, this is non-negotiable for me. This is the keystone of who and what I am, and it shall not be impacted through any other way. When you sit down and identify and look at this list of 16 and say, this is what's non-negotiable for me, what it does is give you a sense of saying, now I know how to move forward. In life, values will always come into conflict. It's what's led me to knock out my best man in the wedding in a parking lot in Chili's when we were at JMU for a happy hour. Because I knew what my values were. And the option was get in a vehicle with him after we had had some beverages during happy hour, or to call a taxi. We went to war over the conversation, and essentially he said, I'm leaving, and I said, or not, and I hit him. It is not in my nature. I've only hit 2 people in my entire life, and one subsequently became the best man in my wedding. But I knew that the peer pressure of getting into a car that I wasn't comfortable with, after having lost 11 friends in 5 drinking-related accidents during high school, was not to be trumped. But you have to know what you value so you can know what you don't. And when you have that in place, you're able to start to go through that process and ferret it out. And as a lot of you sit here and find these critical moments in your organizations where you're saying, how do we make this choice? How do we move forward with this program? How do we excel? It's about values choices as well. Is the SGA defined by this or this? Is my fraternity defined by this or this? I consider myself a Zeta Rose because I've done more stuff with Zeta than I did with most other organizations when I was here. I was lacking some of the entrance criteria, but I married in. So I'm a Zeta by heart, and we go through that process. But when we were here, Zeta continually was having these conversations of what is our identity. And if you think right now for yourself as a leader or for the organization you're involved with, what is our identity? Having the answer is the most critical part to be able to do that. We talk about then, do our behaviors match your beliefs? Some of you will say on that last slide, faith is what's most important to me, or learning what's most important to me. And all I'll ask you to do is consider in your own life, as you make choices, are they aligned with necessarily what you've said those priorities are? Really like this quote. It says, you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the whole ocean in one drop. What a cool perspective flip. To say it's not necessarily that I'm just one me, but I'm everything that I can accomplish and bring into that. So what is the advice as Disney offers us? Stay weird. It's cool to be weird. There's nothing wrong with being weird. We all have a little Ariel in us. As we go through the process, we can necessarily embrace that. And we know that it's sometimes leading and knowing ourselves is about giving vulnerability a chance. How do we want to talk about that? I'd like to ask you to stand up for just a minute. Stop it for 1 second. Thanks. I'm coming up here just so you can see me. I'm going to hang my feet off, so if I say phenomenal, make sure you understand. Alright, research on happiness, leadership, where we come from, what we feel, talks about that there are a lot of things that we can do that are so simple to make ourselves feel better. So what I'm going to ask you to do is find someone who's sitting near you and shake hands for 6 seconds. One handshake for 6 seconds.
Good, how are you?
Alright, stop. I'm not 100% sure what happened there because it should have only taken 6 seconds, but it didn't. Okay, here's the next thing I want you to do. Sit your stuff on your chairs, come into the aisles, come down front, fill up, find yourself a little space just to cruise around the room for a second, but get out, get up, get off. Come find some space and we're just going to fill in the open space in the room. The aisles, the space in the front, just give yourself a little space to work with. To quote the Outriggers, if you just want to sit down, that's cool too, but it may look funny to you. So we know when we sit here and we look at the research in the science and it says a 6-second handshake pays off because what it is physical contact. We know that the physical contact releases what in our brain? Science majors in the room? Okay, good job. I don't know what any of you said, but we should know that it releases dopamine. And what else? Adrenaline. There's an adrenaline release just through physical contact with another person. So I'm sitting there and I said, fundamentally, when we talk about vulnerability and chance, and we know that shaking hands is the first part of that, we can then extrapolate the fact that giving high fives must be the next iteration of that. So what I want to do is we're going to play a song here for just a second, and I just want you to spend about 15 to 30 seconds wandering around giving people kick-ass high fives.
Yeah, let's go! High five!
Yes!
How you feeling? A little better? A little more energy? Alright, we're going to do one more thing, but really like filter here closer to the front because we want to not have these like crowded clusters. I want to talk about a phenomenon called free hugs. Anybody heard of the free hugs phenomenon? A bunch of you just groaned. I think that's hilarious. Okay, when we talk about free hugs, they sat down and said, here's what we know. We know physical contact releases dopamine and adrenaline. We know if we throw our hand up in the air, it adds more value because now what we're doing is putting energy and enthusiasm behind it. So what happened was a man out in Minnesota took a sign that says free hugs in big black bold letters, and he walked around the mall one day. That was all he wanted was free hugs. There was no cost, no consequence, nothing you had to do other than give this man a hug. It went horribly. But it took off as flash mobs and things like that. So we're going to give you one more song. We're going to take about 30 seconds, and all I want you to do is rock the face off and show me how JMU gives free hugs to one another. Go ahead. Alright, let's grab our seats for one more second. We've got just a couple minutes left. Sit back down, feeling good. Bringing back memories from the last sorority party we attended. Or the SGA weekend retreat. Alright. Where's our jumping guy? I bet he would concur. Alright, I will tell you from my point of view, y'all did phenomenal with that exercise. When we talk about what it is, we know that there is a release, and we can do that. Why did that start with give vulnerability a chance? Because had I said, sit near where you are, stand up, find someone around you and give you a hug, the experience would have been totally different, right? But when you strategically build it up, while many of you were still uncomfortable with the concept of hugging and or being hugged, we got closer to a chance where we all embrace what that looks and feels like. And a lot of times knowing ourselves is saying, am I willing to take a chance if I don't? The Martin Luther King quote back here, if you can't read it, says, faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. This is one of my favorite MLK quotes, because talking from a student leadership perspective, this is so very true. How can you sit here and say, I'm willing to take a calculated risk, I'm willing to take a chance when I don't know how and when this is going to end up, if it's going to be for better, for worse, or what that looks and feels like in going through the process. So talking about that, what I hope is you guys will take free hugs back to your organizations. When I was back here as a student, we did something called kudos and announcements at the end of all our meetings. Make it free hugs and announcements in your meetings. Sit there and do something that says this is our chance to engage and spend some social time and share that energy that goes with one another. Second, care about others. We want to talk about how do we interact with others, how do we make that relationship meaningful and go through the process. What do we know? We know it's about the platinum rule. You all know the golden rule. What does the golden rule say? Do unto others as you'd have them done unto you. I think that is a horrible rule. Because fundamentally what the golden rule assumes is what? We all want to be treated the same way. That's not really true, is it? So I encourage you instead to try to follow the platinum rule. What the platinum rule is treat others the way they want to be treated. And when you think that you may love, right now if I said, hey, come on up front, we're going to give you a standing ovation. Stand up there and do that. How many people would be all over that? Love to get you a standing, don't worry, I'm not going to make you come get it. How many people would that be like the worst thing that could happen to you today? Yeah, I'm in that group. I would want nothing to do with that. But even in that little example, what we know is people don't want the same things. So if I was anti-standing ovation, I would never find the right way to honor those people who would feed off that, and that would be really rewarding for them. So what we know is it's about the platinum rule, and it's about creating a culture in your organization, in your life that works for you. And I want to tell you about something we did called the Duck Award. When I was here as an ambassador, I know you're getting tired of ambassador stories, but I hope you'll understand. This one I failed. It's like an epic fail, so I hope that you'll appreciate it. So we go through the process, and I said, it's so cool because you can't go through a week at JMU without seeing like 40 other people in our organization. It just happens as you go about the basis, as you walk through. So I said, what I want to do is take this little duck, little rubber duck, and when I'm like, leave the meeting and see another ambassador, I'm going to give them the duck, and then when they see another ambassador, they can give them the duck, and when they see the next person, they can give them the duck. And the whole point was we're going to spend the week just passing the duck around. Then whatever happened when we get to the meeting, on the agenda, I would say, where's the duck? And whoever had the duck at that moment could stand up and just share something cool. So we did it the first week, and the duck went missing. I decided this was a scientific error, and we could fix it. So I went out and I bought another duck. After the third duck went missing, what I decided was that organization didn't necessarily want to be hooked up with the duck. So I quit. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't quit. But the process was to say, culturally, how are you instilling what you want? And especially to the sophomores in the room, start to think about what the next iteration of your organization looks like. Because if now you start to work to put that in place, by the time you're a senior and you're working your way out, it's really going to exist. And that's where we know we can use our strengths to complement the strengths of others. And we're going to go a couple minutes over, but y'all think you can get to Taylor in like 5 minutes or less?
Yes.
All right, and then I'm going to go like 10 more minutes if that's cool. And then just don't tell anyone. Okay, so I want to show you this quick video. Anybody here got into Glee when Glee was big? A couple people. Okay, if you haven't, you need no context to Glee, but I want to show you this quick video, and I think it'll prove a really cool point.
There's no habit. Thinking if you try. No hell below us. But that's only Imagine there's no mystery. It's not hard to do. Nothing to take God's will. And no reason to.
Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine the possession. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. I'd rather hug a man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world.
You may say
I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
I just really love that clip. That's one of my favorite ones, talking about how we can sit and watch and experience something, but we have an opportunity to say, while we watch and see what we perceive as someone struggling with something, we can see it's actually to a strength. And how do we use our strengths to complement the strengths of the other people around us? You know, when we look at our organization and say, we don't necessarily get why this person operates the way they are, how do we engage in conversation and look for the partnership, as opposed to saying, I can do that bigger or stronger or better than you can, but how can we do things together? Third, we want to talk about desiring a legacy. And what that means is whatever year you are in now, whether you have 3 months left or whether you have 3 years and 3 months, how do you sit down and say, what's going to happen, what's going to occur when I'm at the end of my time here? And as you sit and move forward, we want to know it's all about keeping the right perspective. What does that mean? What do you want people to be saying about you when you leave? Because that's both 2 years out and 10 years out as you go through the process. What specifically will they say? Our sorority is better because she did X. Our fraternity is better because he did X. The SGA is forever changed because this individual pushed us to do this as it goes through the process. Because if now you know what you can accomplish specifically, it puts you in your best position to start to be able to do that. Because it's hard always to be the one that says we have to continue changing, we have to continue to grow to move forward. But that's what distinguishes your ability to actually do that. When you can answer the question, what specific thing will you accomplish between now and when you graduate, you are statistically significantly more likely to achieve that goal as you go through the process. What we want to know is, are you capable of planting the seeds? I want you to help me with one thing real quick. Close your eyes. Take your left hand, left pointer finger, and point north. All you got to do is point north. Use your left hand, use your pointer finger. Okay, leave your hands exactly where they are, but open your eyes. Now I want you to imagine that I am our ship captain, and I say, folks, we are in crisis as a ship, and what I need you all to do right now is row north as quick as you possibly can. How would our boat do? We are in some serious trouble. You can put your hands down. My favorite people are the people who point up. I'm like, best you all know, Canada is north of here. And as far as I know, we do not have to take a rocket ship to get to Canada as we go through this process. But as we talk about going north, as you become the leader of the organization, you have to say, folks, this is north. Let's go north together. But organizations flounder in the absence of a leader who's able to say, this is the shared vision, this is the direction. Let's get here, because even if we only get halfway there, at least we've moved as a unit. If you want to change your organization for the better, you have to have a vision of what that is, and you have to be able to define that as you go through the process. You talk about the fear of failure. We know that we raise people to huge levels of failure and make it acceptable. I'll give you an example of a multi-million-dollar business who fails more often than they succeed, but we continue to herald them and say they are the best of the best. You with me so far? Multi-million-dollar organization fails way more than they succeed, and we consider the best of the best. I'm talking about the Washington Redskins. The Washington Redskins are horrid. But we're like, yeah, go Skins, woo, best ever. Based on what? Okay? Because when you love something, you put blinders on and you're like, we're cool, we can suck, but we're still the best. I'm an Eagles fan. I have nothing more to say than any of you all about being a Redskins fan. Okay? But when we talk about it, we know that we expect great things to come at a cost. So we'll deal with a couple seasons of being horrendous if we know that next year will be phenomenal. In your organization, dream big, fail something as you go through the process. Because you know if you're failing, you're accomplishing more. I like to tell people you never know how far the cliff goes until you've fallen off of it. You have to push the limits within your organization to have the level of success you want. Where's the outriggers? Do y'all still do Make 'Em Rain? Are you familiar with that one? I'll tell you about it afterward. Book the outriggers to come to your organization. Get them to come in and make rain. It is hands down the most phenomenal activity. Okay, but when you talk about it, this is a game changer. And for me, it's the favorite thing I did as an undergrad here, and I continue to do it every day. If we had time, we would do it now. But talking about the way you look at the environment around you and the impact we're able to make. And never underestimate your impact. Remember that any day can be the day you reinvent who you are. So if you're embracing all of these things we've talked about today or none of them, how you put yourself in position to continue to succeed makes all the difference. We talk about a goal without a plan is just a wish. This is a shameless plug. I'm going to start another session in about 8 minutes over in Taylor. Let me tell you about that session because it's not a PowerPoint. It is literally a working session where I'm going to ask you to bring your organization's issues to the table, and we're going to talk about how do we resolve these one-on-one, talk them through in a small group. If you want to come to that session in 400, come. But like I said, it's a very active session. If you choose that session, I expect you to participate. Then we talk about what it is. What I want to leave you with today is as follows. You make a difference on this campus every single day. You're here this morning, and 20,000 of your classmates are not. 20,000 are not, but you're here. That says something about your character, your ability to make a difference. You as a group have made me feel so much better coming home this morning. You've been a phenomenal group to talk with. I appreciate the chance to be here. Y'all take care. Enjoy the rest of Leadership U. Thank you very much.